Welcome to GCC Youth Online. I hope you've had a great week so far, and I'm so glad you've joined us wherever you're watching. This week, we are starting a brand new series. Welcome back. So we are beginning a new series tonight called Love, Hate. We live in a world where we use the words love and hate pretty loosely, right? And I think you understand this. For example, you may say you love Lucky Charms cereal, but you hate Justin Bieber. You may say you love Marvel movies, but you hate cats. You may love pizza, but hate squash. I think you get the idea. We live in a love-hate culture. So love is a big deal to us, though. Most of the biggest movies in the theater have a love story attached to them. A lot of songs that top the charts are about love. Americans alone spend over $20 billion on Valentine's Day each year. And in the church, we talk about how God loves you and you should love one another. Now, on the other hand, we also live in a culture that loves to hate on other people or ideas. We make fun of celebrities and leaders. We bash TikTok stars. We even hate on people in our own lives, in a private group text, of course. We may not say them out loud, but most of us have opinions on everything and everyone. So if love is such a big deal, why does hate, and specifically hating on people, seem to be such a natural part of our lives? There's a lot we could all say about the different ways people hate on each other, but because we have limited time together, tonight we're going to focus on one, and that's gossip. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, those people are the worst, I'm hating on anybody who hates on someone else by gossiping. Just hear me out for a second. And adults are just as bad about this, maybe worse than teenagers. But you have to admit that high school makes gossip easier. Am I right or am I right? Think about it. You're in the same place all day long. It's super boring sometimes. Talking about people makes things interesting. It gives you something to do. And because everybody is talking all the time, it's easy for people's worst moments to come up in conversation. Now, you might be thinking, I don't talk about other people, but I know people who do all the time. When it comes to gossip, we all need to take a look in the mirror and ask ourselves if we contribute to this form of hating. I mean, with all the things we have going on in our lives, with being as busy as we are, why is it so easy to spend our precious free time talking about other people? Why do all of us have such a strong attraction to trash talking and gossiping about people? I think there are a few big reasons. The first being our insecurities. If we can point out what's wrong with other people, it helps us cover up what we feel insecure about in our own lives. Another one is easy bonding. I mean, come on, is there a better way to get in with a group of people than by sharing some key info on someone else and connecting through that kind of conversation? Here's another. It's fun. It's highly entertaining to be the first person to know the details or be in the middle of breaking news about people. Another reason people gossip is they think it gives them a competitive advantage. Some of us want to be the best, so we'll casually mention how not great someone else is just to show how much better we are. And what about this one? Truth. Sometimes we justify talking about people with the fact that what we're talking about is actually true. We think it's okay because the people we're talking about deserve it or brought it on themselves. We say things like facts or I'm just telling it like it is. Here's another. Innocent intentions. Now, sometimes we just have good friends that we share everything with, and sometimes that everything includes everything about someone else's bad decisions. Like I already mentioned, gossip is not a high school thing. It's a people thing. We all know adults and teachers and coaches who share a little too much, right? And it isn't a guy-girl thing either. We may call it something different, like trash talking or tea spilling, but when it comes to gossip, we're all a part of the conversation. There are shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels dedicated to gossiping about and hating on other people. Social media has made this easier than ever. There are celebrities who are famous, literally because people gossip about them. They haven't released an album or created a movie or invented anything world-changing, but they seem to be a trending topic all the time. What a weird thing, right? But isn't it true that although gossip is a naturally accepted part of our culture, there's something inside of all of us that knows it's not good? Meaning, if you've ever been talked badly about, then you know just how terrible it feels. It's not fun to be the subject of other people's conversations, especially when they don't have all the details or even know you. For me, the only time I want people talking about me behind my back is if they're complimenting me. Anything else just, well, it hurts. I know personally there have been plenty of times I've been caught up in the middle of a conversation about someone else and realized, hey, you're actually contributing to the problem rather than standing up for what's right here. And I was the problem. Everyone knows gossip is a bad thing when it's about them. But in a culture like ours, a culture that loves to hate on people and ideas, how is it even possible to stop? Interestingly, someone who lived a couple thousand years ago might have written some of the best advice on this particular topic. His name is Paul, and he's one of the most famous Christians to ever live. His life was dedicated to starting churches and telling people about Jesus. He would often write letters to the churches he had planted. Eventually, some of those letters would become what we call books of the Bible. One of those letters is now called the Book of Ephesians. It was written to a group of people in the ancient city of Ephesus, which was a bustling port city full of culture, diversity, and religions. It was a town full of a bunch of people with a bunch of differences. Now, this type of setting is the perfect fuel for gossip. There was plenty to talk about, plenty to disagree with, and plenty to judge. In fact, for the people Paul wrote to, who were Jesus followers, it would have been easy for them to judge what they saw in the people of that town, and it would have been super easy for them to gossip. But Paul wanted the Christians in Ephesus to operate differently than culture. So his letter is all about them as followers of Jesus living unique lives. And here's what he had to say about that. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. Ephesians 4:29. In this one sentence, Paul makes it clear that unwholesome talk is not supposed to be a part of our lives. Now, I get it. Some of us read that and you think it means, well, you shouldn't cuss. And while that's a great idea, I think there's more to what Paul is saying than just don't use this specific set of words. You see, this letter was originally written in Greek. And if we were to look at the original word for unwholesome in Greek, one of its meanings is rotten. And that, my friends, is a great word to describe what gossip is. Gossip is talk that rots. Now, talking trash or gossiping rots friendships, relationships, and reputations. This isn't what we want to produce with our lives, is it? We don't want to be a people who put on a rotten vibe. When we talk about people or participate while someone else does, we're actually contributing to the rotting of some of the things that matter most to us and to the people around us. In fact, not only does it rot things around you, it might actually be an indication of something unwholesome or rotting inside of you. Jesus himself talked about it when he said this. He said, "It's not what goes into your body that defiles you. You are defiled by what comes from your heart." Mark 7:15. According to Jesus, what comes out of you says a lot about what's within you. When you gossip, it shows something about you. More than the words you speak, it's about the motivation that causes you to say certain things or participate in certain conversations. It's an issue of the heart. So, back to Paul. He gives us an alternative to the unwholesome gossip. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And that's Ephesians 4:29. In other words, if you choose to put the needs of others ahead of your own, and when you think about who a person is instead of just judging them, you'll stop yourself from gossiping. You'll think about them before you speak about them. If you choose to build others up, to care about their needs and help them, you'll choose words that benefit them instead of words that bash them. Now, I get that this is a lot easier said than done. In a world where hating on people is a literal pastime and can be an actual career path, it's hard to be the guy or girl who chooses wholesome over unwholesome. But it's also one of the best decisions you can make, because what you say about others says a lot about you. Think about it. You know people who trash talk their friends, who spread rumors, or always have a mean joke to make about somebody. When you think about that person, you think about that part of them, right? It seems like hating on people is what they're about. And then you probably know people who are the opposite, who refuse to hate on people, who walk out of the room when someone is gossiping. Chances are, when you think about them, it's pretty positive. It's easy to respect people like that. So when it comes to your conversations, it isn't really a question of what to say or not to say. The real question is, what do you want to be all about? Do you want to be known as someone who loves others? Or do you want to be a hater? Someone who trashes people? Or someone who builds them up? The good news is that you have a choice. You get to decide who you want to be and what you want to be known for. For those of you who follow Jesus, that's why God gives you the power to be different. He wants His people to be known for love and not hate. Just because gossip is fun, normal, or kind of hilarious doesn't mean it's worth it to participate. Instead, you and I can choose to be about something else. We can seek the kind of reputation Paul talked about, one where we're known as people who use words to help others, to build others up, and to make their needs a priority. We simply choose love over hate. Think of it this way. Let love be what you're all about. Let love be what you're all about. Let it be your daily mission. Of all the things we could be known for, let's start with the thing that Jesus said was the greatest: love. Now, something we have to understand is that this starts way before words come out of our mouths. It starts with us deciding to care about other people no matter what they do. and then it transfers to our words and our actions. We all have a way of deciding what we say. None of us would ever admit this, but deep down, we know we sometimes decide what to say by answering these questions. Will it make me look funny? Will it make me look cool? Will it make me look smart? Is it mostly true? These kinds of questions and filters often lead to that unwholesome, rotten talk we mentioned earlier. And before we know it, something rotten is spreading in our relationships. So we need a new question. And I really like the word Paul gives us because it ties in perfectly if we want to be people who are all about love. Here's the simple question we should ask ourselves before speaking. Is this helpful? Is it helpful? Before you and I say anything, we should use this question. In fact, we can put it into practice immediately. We can start today in our DMs, our text to friends, on a phone call, or in a conversation at home. All we need to do is ask this: will these words be helpful? Will they build others up? Will they make someone's life better? When we use a filter of being helpful, it doesn't matter if the story is true, or if the joke is funny, or if the tea is particularly good. If it isn't helpful, it isn't worth our words. If we choose to be all about love and use this filter, the words we should and shouldn't use will become really clear. It's actually pretty amazing how practical a filter that's thousands of years old is in today's world. Imagine for a moment if just those of us watching this chose to let love be what we're all about. What would happen when you return to your friend groups and schools if just the people watching this refused to judge, to hate, or to talk bad about, or to gossip? Imagine if we chose to be people who use words to help and build up others. This would have an impact everywhere we go, right? In fact, it may just change the view some people have of Christians. Imagine if Christians were known for being all about love instead of hate. How much more appealing would it be to follow God? How much more magnetic would the church be? How much more would people around us be willing to get to know Jesus if we acted like the thing he said was most important, love, was actually most important? All of us get to decide whether we'll be known for being about love or being someone who loves to hate. Now, I want to challenge you to begin to ask yourself that critical question: is this helpful? Before you speak or act. Remember, what comes out of us is likely a representation of what's inside us. Let's be a people who cultivate goodness inside our hearts so that we can let love be what we're all about.